Hello.
And welcome back
to another episode of
Hello, I'm listening.
Hello, I'm listening.
Indeed. Sorry.
It's another summer edition of We Don't Give a Fuck when we release the episode, and also we're sitting outside in the garden recording the episode.
It's another episode where it begins with us apologizing for not being on top of putting out episodes.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
But you know, nobody cares, Sean. Nobody cares.
I think people care.
The two people.
I mean, if you keep putting that in the universe, then...
I mean, the 200,000 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no. But yeah, we try to upload more consistently. And if we don't, you find updates on our Instagram most of the time why we didn't upload. But these days it's only because either we have to work a lot on the construction site, and also besides that, I worked 11 hours today. Went for a run, did a workout, cooked. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, but today we're putting out a new episode, so that's good for you people.
I think they've already figured that out.
Oh, yeah. What are we talking about? I mean, you guys already know from the title.
But you don't know because you forgot.
No,
right?
I do know.
What are we talking about?
Feminism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like just talking about feminism is too broad a topic.
No, it's more about the woke culture. Woke culture, or the seemingly...
I wouldn't say it's the woke culture.
No, it's not the woke culture. It's the people who attack the woke culture, and I'm putting woke culture under air quotes because what the fuck? It's just another term for people who might be a little not stupid.
The reason we thought about it
the horizon
is because we watched the movie She-Hulk or series. The series we watched an episode of She-Hulk, and Woifi we both really enjoyed it. And then afterwards, Woifi looked at the reviews and he's like, I don't understand why the reviews are so low. And I said, I can tell you without even looking at it why they're so low. Yeah. And it's because there is a female lead. Yeah. And people are going to comment about how it's trying to replace the Hulk, or it's, trying to force feminism in the Marvel universe, and that's exactly what it was.
There are three things getting thrown around in reviews and in criticism right now. It's the woke culture, it's the feminism, and the politicization or politicizing of things, which is not new. All those things are not new. Yeah. There are plenty of examples. Ooh, fucking birds. There are plenty of examples from the last... What, is Neo up there?
I just see his feet hanging off of the edge.
I see his fat coming through the edges of the stairs. No, but those things are not new. Those things are not... it's not a new concept to use those things in... like a strong female lead. If you look at Terminator 1 or Alien, the whole series, basically, there are so many examples of movies and series in pop culture who adapted a strong female lead. And nobody cried about that back then.
The thing is, not to mention, She-Hulk is already a comic. So it's not like... It's not like it's new. It's not like people are saying we need a female lead. Let's make one. Let's create one from our ass, and be like, oh, let's make the Hulk, but a woman. Yeah. It's like, that's not what's happening. Yeah. It's already a comic. It already existed.
I agree. It's funny. I saw a tweet of one of the main authors of the She-Hulk comics, and she tweeted that she saw the first 3 or 4 episodes of the series, and she said writing so many comics and knowing the world so well, she can without no doubt say that the series is so on point. And if you like the comics, you love the show because
Yeah.
it's essentially the same thing. It's so on point. And that just basically tells you, and a lot of articles came out since that the series got, what is the thing called when people shit on a show?
Mm-hmm.
What is it called? There's a term for it.
There's a term for it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know the term, but you can't think of it right now. I can't think of it right now anyway. But it doesn't matter. They bombed it basically with bad reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But I want to just quickly read the definition of feminism, because a lot of people, especially in the right, I'm not saying that all of the right people are like that or think like that, but a lot of people use the term feminism in a completely wrong way. Whereas feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the ground of the equality of the sexes.
Mm-hmm.
So feminism is basically just a movement or a term for the equality of men and women.
Yep.
That's it. There's nothing about women should be better, women should be above men, women are better, nothing like that. It's just simply
we're
about
legitimately equal.
Right. We are also human beings. We deserve the same rights. And looking back in time, 60, 70 years ago, women didn't have that many rights. There's still countries where women have almost no rights.
And you look at today in the US where women's rights are just being taken away.
Yeah. And then people, you know, especially like the right people cry about feminism, and they essentially create those things, because by taking away the rights for this particular
the thing is, we shouldn't have to fight for rights.
US.
That's the whole point. We shouldn't have to fight to be treated as equals. We shouldn't have to work 3 times as hard to make the same thing that a man does. If we had, you know, it's all outrageous. It's outrageous thinking. And but there's also, I will say, just because you brought up the right side of things, there's also the other side of things where there are. I just went out to dinner with a friend last night. Shout out to Kim. And
Kim, she wanted to be in a podcast again, but she never did. Shame on you, Kim. Shame
she
on you.
Works like 2 full-time jobs. But we had an interesting conversation about it, and just talking about how there's also the other extreme where there are, quote, feminists who throw it so much in your face that it's almost counterproductive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they like shame other women for how they are or are not doing feminism right. I'm like, that's also like completely going against the whole point of feminism.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Do you? You were just on your phone, so do you really know what I was saying?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I basically said the same thing, essentially. But
nah.
I mean, I did, kind of, by just explaining what feminism is and should be, and not by taking it and making something that it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I think why it's, I mean, in the last couple of years, especially with social media and the, you know, certain bubbles becoming bigger or seemingly bigger, and the outcry of those bubbles becoming louder, you feel like you get more of that hatred against women, and you can see that reflecting in femicides. That's what it's called when women get killed by men most of the time. Like I think 99% or 99.9% just men, either boyfriends, husbands who just simply can't control their emotions, never were able to express their emotions and bottled them up, and had probably other bigger issues. But you know, it's so weird to me that the thing is, I understand some people, in the sense that why some people would grow, angry towards women, or like having this notion against women that they're all bad or all the same, where maybe like they had a bad relationship, or some bad thing happening to them at some point where a woman was involved, and then they ended up in that circle or bubble again, where a lot of the same or similar things people come together and basically preach that women are all the same and bad and blah blah blah. First of all, completely ignoring that they have a mother they probably love, and they are here because of women. So that alone is a fact that it's so outrageously stupid. But then the second thing is just, how can you carry that out so much? You have this, I mean, especially a lot of people want a relationship, want love, want to feel that there is somebody who can rely on, and they feel loved by them and they can give love.
But what does that have to do with women in general?
Because it seems like the hatred against women is getting bigger.
Yeah.
And you can see that in the US by simply laws that shouldn't even be laws, that should be common sense, are getting pushed back or completely revoked. It's outrageous. And with the femicides, here in Austria alone, almost every year the numbers are getting higher. It's so fucked up that should not be the case. And I guess a big thing why men maybe grow so resentful or angry towards women is because maybe education failed them. I don't know.
I think there are multiple factors.
Sure.
I don't think you can really chalk it up to one
But
thing.
I mean, let's think about it. I mean, sure, there's this time in school where you don't like girls, that's completely normal. At some point, girls are like, ew, go away, don't touch me. Right.
The other way around.
Right. It's the same way. And then at some point, once the puberty hits and you grow some hair at some places, you like them again, or at least, or the opposite sex, doesn't matter, But at some point, there's a break for some people. Either it's maybe a relationship that failed, or a trauma, or maybe even growing up, like where the mother hit them or completely abused them or whatever, But I think it's such an easy fix.
This I don't agree, because
You don't think it's an easy to fix?
No, I don't agree with what you're saying in terms of where it likely stems from, because this is why. You can say the exact same thing on the other side of the spectrum.
Sure.
How many women have traumatic experiences with their fathers, with their uncles, with their brothers, with boys in general, with rape, with assault, with, there's all of these things. There's enough things that happen to you as a woman, as a young girl, that could easily make you hate men. Like actually physically, with every fiber of your being, hate men. But there's we're not doing the shit that men are doing. We're not out there trying to take men's rights away. We're not out there trying to say, we should make more than you financially because we're smarter, or, we're not, there's no war on men.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't think that that's where it comes from.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, maybe no.
I think it's stemmed. It's drilled into your brain slowly, probably from such a young age. Whether that probably plays a role in terms of your history with women, but I think it's so much in the media. It's so much in politics. It's so much in just there are so many things that were a problem in the 40s and 50s that continue to be a problem today, because they're like, oh, it's just always been this way. Yeah. Women weren't able to vote for a long time. And then finally we got the right to vote. Yeah. But it's the same with equal pay. It's the same with being treated a certain way when you go see a doctor. It's these things that have just been in our society and in our culture for so long, and add on to it television and movies and the stuff that we grew up with, where the stuff that kids are growing up with now I think is going to drastically change that cycle. But the stuff that we grew up with is extremely misogynistic.
That's true.
Almost everything you watched.
But maybe, and I guess that's also a big part of the reason, is because social media is so what is the word? Like not really supervised? Unregulated, where misogynistic and female, what is the term? Like if something's against female, like content
like
that is
sexism or misogyny or
there's another word I'm thinking of, like something more extreme where it's hateful content against women is promoted. For example, I mean, I don't know if you read about the Andrew Tate thing.
No.
He's this super weird guy. I've never watched anything from his content, but he just got blocked on almost every social media because he...
Is there the Netflix series out about him, or is that somebody else?
That's a different guy.
The most hated guy on the internet or something.
Mixed martial arts fighter, and he made a shit ton of money, and then he started a podcast and all that shit. And he's like the more extreme and female hating version of Joe Rogan. I might get a lot of hate for that, but that's how I see him, at least, because he's also embodying the typical male stereotype. And he just released a bunch of videos where he basically just explained how he treats his women. And of course, a lot of younger men or even boys see that and look up to that and say, oh, he's super successful. He knows what he's talking about. And I guess social media is a big, especially like TikTok and the Instagram reels, where especially that, like, you don't see a hand get chopped off or like a kid getting tortured or something, because those things have lagged and completely deleted right away. But misogynistic content and content that goes against women or other hate groups or, stuff like that is almost never being deleted. And I feel like, I don't know, I could be wrong, that in the last couple of years, things that were... things that you shouldn't say or you are not allowed to say, like the N-word, for example, and stuff like that. I feel like things are coming back again. I feel like, I don't know if you listen to podcasts, not every podcast, obviously, but certain podcasts, or you watch videos online on YouTube or on not TikTok, I'm not on TikTok, but Instagram. There are things said sometimes where I feel like, oh, but weren't we already like... not saying those things anymore? Because
do you have an example?
Yeah, for example, like the making fun of certain stereotypes, or like what I said, that Andrew Tate, for example, slapping women, things like that, putting women where they belong in terms of stereotypes, kitchen cleaning, whatever, all that stuff. And I feel like it's becoming more again. I don't know, I could be wrong.
The only way that I see those things being okay in terms of like for comedy reasons is if a woman does it.
Sure.
Like if obviously a woman is doing it to prove a point or
sure,
to,
obviously.
But yeah, I mean, I haven't noticed any, but I also try to kind of shy away from social media as much as possible these days. But I haven't noticed that.
I want to quickly talk about the woke thing, because I actually didn't know where
boomer
the term came from. Do you know where the term woke came from?
No.
So woke is a slang term which didn't start out as one. It took birth in a dialect called African American vernacular English.
Oh yeah, Bill Burr talked about that on his latest special.
Yeah. The term of staying woke became a watchword in parts of the Black community for those who were self-aware and for those who questioned the dominant paradigm and strived for something better. Woke can also refer to mockingly to a white person whose perspective on race equity changes suddenly after learning about historical injustice. So
essentially it's a pretty positive term.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you think about it, if you are woke or awake, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
So the opposite would be to be asleep.
Yeah.
Which means you don't know what's going on. So I like to compare it to the what is it called? The Höhlengleichnis. What is it called in English?
I don't know.
Platon. You don't know?
Mm-mm.
Allegory of the cave. You don't know the allegory of the cave?
No.
Come on, the movie Matrix is based on that.
So
it's Platon.
I didn't know that.
Platon, and he basically made the concept of this cave, where it's a dark cave, but there's light coming through, and there are people sitting in the cage, looking towards a wall, basically, and the light casts a shadow on the wall. They are shadows, basically, and they look to the shadows as that's the world and that's the real thing, you know. But at some point, one of them turns around and sees, hey, there's a way out, and actually goes out of it. So the Matrix, basically. And so he's no longer trapped in the cave by believing this is real, but actually coming out of the cave and seeing, okay, I just had to turn around. Basically just an more or less easy way of thinking in a different way, different perspective, whatever. And I like to compare that with the woke thing, because if someone asks me, are you woke or are you asleep, or are you awake or asleep in terms of what's going on in the world, I would consider myself awake, because I try to, read things, be informed about things. But in the last couple of years, the word woke got politicized a lot, and especially in the right-wing corner in the US, especially. I mean, it's thrown around, and now it reached a point where it gets thrown around in reviews for games, series, and movies. And I hate that so fucking much, because it doesn't say anything. It only tells you about the person who wrote the review, that they're fucking stupid and don't know what they're saying, because, they're watching, like She-Hulk, for example, I mean, the only thing considered atypical about the show is that not a man is the lead, which in it itself shouldn't be a problem. Why? Because there are plenty of things where it's not the case. So, okay. But that's it. Yeah. That's fucking it. And
also, I don't understand why that even pisses people off.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
they don't watch it.
First of all that. Second of all, how many fucking movies and series and every fucking other thing out there has a male lead? Yeah. I mean, so many fucking things. So is it really that big of a deal? Shouldn't it, like, why is it? It makes me mad. It just makes me so mad. Because why is it even a thing that you get upset about? It's just they're actors and they're acting. And somebody wrote the part, and that's what the part is. And just what's the problem?
Yeah.
What is the problem?
I don't understand.
I don't understand.
I mean, if I'm a fucking stupid asshole, and I'm calling those people stupid assholes, I'm sorry, and I'm reading, oh, She-Hulk is out. She-Hulk. And I see the cover, and I might maybe see a trailer, and I fucking know it's about a woman who is becoming a Hulk. And I know I hate women, or I don't like things where women are portrayed as strong and, then why watch it? Don't fucking watch it. If I want to watch a porn and I'm not gay, I'm not watching gay porn and then complaining about it. Oh, there's so little pussy in it.
We're sitting outside and you're shouting about porn.
I know. I'm so fucking infuriated by those people, because that makes me so mad that people throw around those words, not even knowing what it means.
Yeah, but see,
man, sorry.
That anger, though.
Sorry.
Think about how it feels then to be a woman.
No, I mean, I only can imagine.
It's constantly infuriating. the thing is too, it's like there were people who were complaining and writing reviews like, there's no way, it's so unrealistic. First of all, they say unrealistic. I'm like, yeah, the whole fucking thing is unrealistic. So at that point, it's just stupid in the first place.
Yeah, and downplaying man, making man weak.
Yeah, they were like, there's no way that she would be able to beat Hulk in a fight. And it's like, why?
It's a fucking show. It's a fucking
also,
first
they're mutants.
pilot.
They're literally mutated people.
Yeah.
So.
And the fact that she, I don't want to even talk about it because there's no point. There's no point.
It's obnoxious.
Basically the woke thing is something good, but it got basically adapted by the right, and they are trying to cancel the woke culture or trying to make it seem that it's something bad. Mm-hmm. And it kind of lost meaning because why is being aware of racial injustice or even injustice in any way or form bad?
Yeah.
So I think if you explain that, or if you ask like a someone from the right party or someone who considers themselves right and ask them, hey, are you against or for injustice? They would probably say, no, I'm against it. So why then use the word woke culture and woke for your trying to explain how you don't like the left? Or
because people like that. Also, I think you have to start going away from even referring to left or right, because honestly, at this point, they're all fucking idiots. Everybody's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
If you're too far left or too far right, you're doing it wrong.
I agree.
I think.
I agree.
But what was I gonna say? I don't remember.
But just to go back to the beginning of the episode, I think what's really important is to remind ourselves that a lot of amazing pop culture is female driven. And a lot of that gave us a lot of other things. For example, with Alien, I mean, Ripley was one of the first badass alien killing females in a sci-fi genre, which was until then basically dominated by men. I mean, if you look at Star Wars, there's only Leia in the first movie. That's the only woman, and that's fucked up. That's fucked up. And going then further, sure, there are more or less a little more, but Leia is the only female lead, and it's fucked up.
A badass female lead, but
I mean, sure, but that's it. It's kind of weird, and I think there's a lot of good pro-feminism content out there which should be supported. And one of them we watched last year or 2 years ago is Moxie.
Oh, Moxie's fabulous.
That was a great movie, and
phenomenal.
It was the same problem. I mean, it got just bombarded by bad reviews, and it's a great movie, especially for young women and men who wanna learn a little bit more about injustice in terms of how it affects women or can affect women.
And the thing is, I get that there are some people who find that content to be hard to watch, or maybe they get pissed off by it or whatever. But you know what? That's how it's supposed to make you feel. If you feel like that's off-putting for you and it's uncomfortable for you, then you're doing something wrong. Because you should feel empowered by that, or especially as a woman, but as a man watching that content, like things like Moxie or anything that's more feminist based, you should feel like hell yeah. Like you should watch it and be like, hell yeah, this is awesome, or you fucking get that, or you fucking do that.
Think about it and maybe try to get the message of the thing.
If your gut reaction is barf or this is fucking stupid, or I'm gonna go write a review about how woke this is, then that's a problem with you. But that's exactly why we need
that's exactly why they put out content
like that.
I want to say something that is that would compare that to that thing, we watched Fire Island a couple of years
Also
ago.
lovely.
A great movie. It's a great rom-com about just a couple of gay friends who visit Fire Island and just enjoy the summer there. But it's a gay rom-com, so it's gay people doing gay stuff, you know? And for
Doing
me,
gay
it
stuff.
yeah, you know.
It's just gay people living their lives.
Right. No, but what I mean is obviously they kiss and, you know, have sex and stuff like that. But for me, it would have been hard to watch a couple of years ago. And it's still not, it's not hard or anything, but it's not as normal as watching a man and woman for me, because I never saw that growing up. And because I was so, because the world just never, or my parents and everything else around never showed me something like that, which is kind of sad. And the thing is, I like to watch things like that, but it's not always easy to watch for me, not like in a bad way or anything.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. I mean, I'm completely the opposite, but I don't, and I was, raised the same way. It's not like my parents were not open, because they were always open and they were always accepting.
They're pretty racist. Shut up, Patty.
But just in the 90s, we didn't grow up with that stuff. That wasn't on TV. That wasn't in our, it wasn't being sung about. It wasn't in movies. It wasn't, that wasn't something that we saw around us a lot. But for me, it's like watching that stuff is so, like, if I could choose, and maybe it's just because I'm bisexual myself, and so I just appreciate seeing that stuff. But I don't know. If I could choose where we watch like a rom-com from our time, like male-female rom-com, or LGBTQ rom-com, 1,000% I'm going for the LGBTQ, because I love it. I watch
agree.
it and I'm like, I feel
too.
Validated. I feel so happy for them. I feel like I'm so excited that this is becoming normalized. And
also, it's sadly something fresh. It's something that you haven't seen, and something where people really try again, which hasn't been the case in normal, I'm putting that on the air quotes, rom-coms and series. So it's refreshing to see those things.
I will also say with Fire Island, specifically that movie, a friend of mine, he and I were talking about just things like we were talking about the show Heartstopper, and which was basically my coming out show, the one that kind of started to make me really question everything. But there are so many movies that the characters are homosexual, or the characters are bi, and they're coming out. There's a lot of coming out movies or coming out series that are painful. They're so painful to watch. They're painful for people who are currently in that situation to have to remember a certain experience, or maybe they're going through it. It's fucking painful. There are so few that you experience what my friend calls queer joy. And Fire Island for me was like, that's queer joy, because there was heartbreak. But it's not. It's a rom-com. It's not a coming of age. It's not a coming of age. It's just, this is these guys going to Fire Island to enjoy a week of fun with each other, which they do every year. And they meet people. They do drugs. They just like do stupid things. But it's pure queer joy. That just reflects our culture, because it's still hard for young people to come out. Yeah. When it shouldn't be. But that's exactly my point. That's why those coming of age movies reflect that. But that's why it's also so lovely to have the opposite, to have things like Fire Island, where it's not always, when you see yourself being represented on the screen, it's not always the heartache part about it. It's not always the hardship. It's also like, here's the joy of the whole thing. I agree. Yeah. I think that's super important. Yeah. Anyways, we've kind of gone a little off topic, but 30 minutes. 35 minutes, we should stop. It's been enough. But feminism. Be a feminist.
Yeah.
And you know what? Men can be feminists too. I think that's another thing that people don't realize. It's like they're like,
it doesn't label you.
Right. It's a good thing to be a feminist. And being a feminist can be whatever it is for you. It doesn't have to mean you go out and you march on the streets.
Right.
But be a fucking ally, support women in their goals and their dreams, and support their rights for equality. I mean,
right. I think you don't even have to label yourself a feminist. Just be supportive.
But I think you should. I think everybody who supports women should say, I'm a feminist. I think we need more men who say it.
But if you have a problem with the term for whatever reason, and but you still feel like, okay, I want to support the movement, then just don't call yourself a feminist. Just support it.
I don't agree with that, only because I think it's important to get rid of the stigma of the word feminism. And the more men who actually come out and call themselves a feminist, the more men that do that, the better this whole thing's going to go. Because right now it's a shit ton of women, coming together and trying to change shit. But there's not enough men coming out and speaking out. There's not enough men who are putting themselves out there and saying, I'm a feminist, I support women.
I agree.
And that's exactly where I don't think you can hide from the word. It's just like, you can't hide from the word rape. It's a word. It's a word. It happens, and it's something that needs to be said.
I agree. No, you're right. No.
Not to compare the two, because rape is obviously a horrible thing.
Yeah.
And feminism is a fantastic thing. But just these stigmas around words shouldn't be there.
I agree. Yeah, that's true. Maybe just reflect on why you don't like the word, and then try to adapt it. You don't have to scream it. You don't have to write it on something, but
just be an ally.
Speak out if you hear something, or if friends say something that might be bad. Just, that's how things change.
Indeed. And don't write stupid reviews on things. If you don't like something, just don't like it. That's fine, but nobody fucking cares about your opinion.
Right. And again, you don't have to care about our opinion.
You don't.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Maybe you don't give a fuck about our opinion, but then just know that there are people who don't give a fuck about yours either. So
yeah. Okay, but hey, it all comes from love, and trying to be loved and trying to love each other and trying
to you don't have to agree with somebody to still have a good relationship with them. We don't have to agree all the time on everything.
Yeah.
But we do have to be decent human beings.
Yeah, we should.
And treat each other with respect.
Well, that's it. We hear each other next week.
Watch out for deer.
And also follow and, all that shit.